The Alliance Council chamber was built to impress. Massive stone walls stretched up toward a ceiling lost in shadows. The air was thick and hot, filled with gases that would kill most species in minutes. Around the circular table sat the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. Admiral Voss shifted his massive reptilian frame in his chair. His dark scales caught the red light from the lava flows visible through the chamber's windows. As leader of the Cravex people, he had survived the volcanic death world of Magna Prime. Nothing scared him anymore. Or so he thought. General Nyx clicked her sharp claws against the metal table. Her insect-like eyes never blinked as she studied the holographic display floating above them. The Thrix warrior had crawled out of poison gas swamps that dissolved metal. She knew what real danger looked like. 12 species made up the Death World, Alliance. Each came from planets that would terrify normal civilizations. They had earned their place through blood, pain, and the simple fact that they refused to die when the universe tried to kill them. "Show us this new world again," Admiral Voss said. His voice was like grinding rocks. The hologram changed. A blue and green planet appeared, slowly rotating in the dim light. It looked almost peaceful. Almost. "The humans call it Earth," said Dr. Keth, the Alliance's chief scientist. His gray skin was covered in scars from radiation burns. "Our sensors show it as a Class 9 death world." General Nyx leaned forward. "Class 9? That's impossible. Nothing intelligent could evolve on a Class 9. "That's what we thought too," Dr. Keth replied. He touched a control and the hologram zoomed in. "But look at this." The planet's surface filled the display. Vast oceans of liquid water stretched between continents. Storms larger than entire star systems swirled across the surface. Lightning cracked through clouds thick enough to crush buildings. "The water covers 70% of the surface," Dr. Keth explained. "It's not just water either. It's filled with acid, salt, and creatures that hunt in packs." Commander Zek, a four-armed warrior from the ice world of Frostbite, made a disgusted sound. "No one could survive in liquid water. It would dissolve you." "The temperatures change constantly," Dr. Keth continued. "In some places, it gets hot enough to boil water. In others, it drops so low that the air itself freezes. The weather patterns are completely unpredictable." Admiral Voss studied the display. His people came from worlds where lava rivers were normal, but even they avoided water that hot. What about the life forms? The hologram showed new images. Massive creatures with rows of sharp teeth swimming through the deadly oceans. Land animals that could crush vehicles. Flying beasts with talons like swords. "Everything on this planet is designed to kill," Dr. Keth said. "The plants are poisonous. The animals hunt in coordinated groups. Even the insects can deliver fatal stings." "And humans live there?" General Nyx asked. "Not just live. They thrive. They've built cities, developed technology, and spread across the entire planet. They've even learned to use the dangerous life forms as food sources." The council chamber fell silent. These were beings who had survived the worst worlds in the galaxy. They understood what it meant to fight for survival every day, but Earth sounded worse than anything they had ever faced. "How many of them are there?" Admiral Voss asked. "Over 7 billion. Commander Zek's four eyes widened. "Billion? That's more than the entire Alliance population." "They reproduce quickly and adapt to new environments," Dr. Keth explained. "Our long-range scans show they've learned to survive in every climate on their planet, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts." Admiral Voss stood up and walked to the window. Outside, lava bubbled and flowed like a slow river. This was his home. This was comfort. But these humans lived somewhere far worse and called it normal. "What do we know about their technology?" he asked. "Primitive by our standards, but effective. They've developed weapons capable of destroying their own planet several times over. They use controlled explosions to launch vehicles into space. Most interesting, they seem to enjoy making their technology more dangerous than necessary." General Nyx's antenna twitched with interest. "Enjoy danger?" "They have something called extreme sports, activities that serve no purpose except to risk death for entertainment. They jump from great heights, swim with predators, and race vehicles at deadly speeds." The council members looked at each other. They were warriors, survivors, beings who had faced death countless times. But they did it because they had to. These humans seemed to do it for fun. Why should we care about this planet? Asked Captain Rex, whose people lived on worlds where the gravity could crush bones. They're primitive. What use are they to us? Admiral Voss turned back to the group. Because they survived a Class 9 death world. Do you understand what that means? The chamber was quiet except for the distant rumble of volcanic activity. It means they might be tougher than us. General Nick said slowly. Exactly. For centuries, we've been the strongest force in the galaxy. We've dominated because no one else could match our resilience. But these humans... They could be valuable allies, Commander Zek suggested. If they're truly as tough as their world suggests. Admiral Voss nodded. The hegemony has been growing stronger. Those soft-worlders think their advanced technology makes them superior to us. But what if we had allies who were even tougher than we are? You want to invite them to join the Alliance? Dr. Keth asked. I want to see what they're made of first. Send a diplomatic mission, make contact, let them know they're not alone in the universe. General Nick stood up. And if they refuse? Admiral Voss's eyes glowed like hot coals. Then we'll know they're smart as well as tough. But I don't think they'll refuse. From what I've seen, these humans seem to enjoy new challenges. Who should we send? Commander Zek asked. Send Ambassador Tor. He survived first contact with 17 different species. If anyone can handle humans, it's him. The hologram switched off, leaving the chamber in the red glow of lava light. The Alliance leaders sat in silence, each thinking about this new discovery. None of them realized they were about to make the biggest mistake in galactic history. 3 days later, Ambassador Tor's ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The reptilian diplomat had handled difficult first contacts before. He had negotiated with species that breathed poison and civilizations that communicated through pain. But as his ship approached the small blue world, something felt different. His instruments showed massive energy signatures across the planet's surface. Cities that glowed with power, satellites that watched everything. These humans had been busy. Open a communication channel, Ambassador Tor ordered his crew. A moment later, a voice came through the speakers. It spoke in a language the ship's computers quickly translated. Unknown vessel. This is Earth Defense Control. Please state your intentions. Ambassador Tor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Defense Control. These humans were ready for visitors. Good. He liked dealing with warriors. This is Ambassador Tor of the Death World Alliance. We come in peace, seeking contact with the human species. There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, sounding different somehow. More alert. Ambassador, you are cleared to approach Earth orbit. Follow the navigation beacon to Station Alpha. Welcome to our system. As his ship moved toward Earth, Ambassador Tor watched the planet grow larger on his screens. He could see the storms, the vast oceans, the dangerous beauty of humanity's home world. Soon, he would meet these remarkable beings face to face. Soon, the Alliance would learn what humans were really capable of. He had no idea that he was about to witness something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy, forever. 3 months had passed since first contact. The humans had accepted the Alliance invitation with surprising enthusiasm. What worried Admiral Voss was how quickly they had adapted to Alliance technology and customs. Captain Alex Rivera stood in the transport bay of Titan Base, the Alliance's main military station. She was the first human to serve on an Alliance vessel. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple knot, and she wore the standard Alliance uniform without any breathing equipment. The atmospheric mixture won't hurt you? Asked Lieutenant Torx, a young Kravex officer. His scales were still bright green, showing his inexperience. Most species needed full environmental suits to survive on Titan Base. Alex took a deep breath of the thick, chemical-heavy air. It's a bit stuffy, but not bad. Reminds me of Mexico City on a smoggy day. Lieutenant Torx didn't understand the reference, but he made a note in his report. The humans seemed to treat dangerous environments like minor inconveniences down in The research labs Dr. Lisa Park was causing similar concerns. The human scientist worked alongside Dr. Keth, studying samples of crystalline formations from the toxic world of Venom Prime. "You should wear protective gloves," Dr. Keth warned as Lisa reached for a sample container. "Those crystals release acid vapors that can dissolve metal." Lisa paused and looked at the container. Then she opened it and carefully lifted out a crystal with her bare hands. "It's warm," she said, turning it to catch the light. "And it smells like vinegar." Dr. Keth's gray skin turned even paler. "You can smell it. Those vapors should have burned your nasal passages." "Humans have a high tolerance for acidic substances," Lisa explained, setting the crystal down gently. "We actually consume mild acids for pleasure. We call them pickles." "You eat acid for fun?" Dr. Keth asked weakly. "Among other things, we also drink ethanol, which is technically poison, and we add capsaicin to our food, which is a chemical weapon that plants use to stop animals from eating them." Dr. Keth made several urgent notes. These humans were not just tough, they were insane. In the military training facilities, things were getting even more disturbing. Lieutenant Commander Jake Stone led a squad of human Marines through what the Alliance considered advanced combat training. The exercise took place in a chamber that simulated the surface of hellfire, a world where the ground was molten rock and the air was filled with burning particles. Alliance soldiers trained here for only 30 minutes at a time, and many suffered burns even with full protective gear. The humans had been inside for 3 hours. General Nix watched through reinforced windows as Jake's team moved through the artificial landscape. They were sweating, but they showed no signs of distress. Worse, they were actually talking and joking with each other. "The temperature in there is hot enough to cook meat," General Nix said to her aide, Captain Vex. "Yes, General. But the humans say it reminds them of something called Arizona in summer." General Nix's compound eyes focused on the display showing the chamber's internal temperature. "Increase the heat by 20%. The temperature rose. The humans noticed, but they simply removed their outer uniform jackets and continued the exercise. 30% more, General Nix ordered. Now the humans were breathing harder, but they were still moving normally. Jake Stone actually smiled as he climbed over a pile of simulated burning rocks. "General," Captain Vex said quietly, "if we increase it more, we'll exceed safety limits for Alliance species." General Nix stared at the humans. They were operating in conditions that would kill most Alliance soldiers, and they were treating it like a mild workout. That evening, the Alliance command staff held an emergency meeting in Admiral Voss's private office. The room was smaller than the main council chamber, but just as intimidating. Weapons from a dozen worlds hung on the walls, trophies from centuries of warfare. "The integration is proceeding too smoothly," Admiral Voss said, pacing in front of a window that showed the gas giant Titan base orbited. "I expected problems, cultural conflicts, adjustment difficulties. The humans are adapting faster than any species we've encountered," reported General Nix. "They're not just surviving our environments, they're thriving in them." Dr. Keth activated a holographic display. "I've been studying their biology. Their bodies are designed for survival in ways we never imagined. They have backup systems for their backup systems." "Explain," Admiral Voss said. "Take their circulatory system. If major blood vessels are damaged, smaller ones can expand to maintain flow. Their bones can heal themselves. Their brains can actually rewire around damaged areas." Commander Zek, attending by hologram from his ship, raised one of his forearms. "That's standard for most species. Not to this degree. Humans can survive losing significant portions of their organs. They can function with half a brain, 1 lung, 1 kidney. Some can even survive having their heart stopped for several minutes." The room fell silent. These beings had spent their lives fighting for survival, but they had limits. Everyone had limits. "There's more," Dr. Keth continued. "Their psychological makeup is equally unusual. They have something called stress response. When faced with danger, their bodies release chemicals that make them stronger, faster, and more alert. All species have fear responses," General Nix said. "This isn't fear, it's the opposite. The more dangerous a situation becomes, the better they perform." We've been observing Lieutenant Commander Stone's team. Their accuracy and coordination actually improve under extreme stress. Admiral Voss stopped pacing. Show me the combat simulation data. The hologram changed to show performance charts. Red lines indicated Alliance soldiers' abilities under stress, steady at first, then declining as conditions worsened. Blue lines showed human performance, rising steadily as danger increased. This is impossible, Commander Zek said. No species gets better in worse conditions. Humans do, Dr. Keth replied. And there's something else. They seem to enjoy it. Enjoy combat? Admiral Voss asked. Enjoy challenge. I've been monitoring their conversations. When the training gets more difficult, they become more enthusiastic. They use phrases like, now it's getting interesting, and finally something fun. General Nix's antennae twitched nervously. Fun? They think combat training is fun? According to Dr. Park, humans have entire industries devoted to artificial danger. They pay money to be frightened, to face simulated threats, to test their limits against imaginary enemies. Admiral Voss sat down heavily in his chair. His people had fought for survival on volcanic worlds, but they had never enjoyed it. Survival was serious. Survival was work. What about their social behavior, he asked. Cooperative beyond anything we've seen, Dr. Keth replied. But also competitive. They work together perfectly, but they also constantly try to outperform each other. It's like they're competing to be the best at cooperation. That makes no sense, Commander Zek said. It does to them. Watch this. The hologram showed footage from the training facility. Human soldiers were helping each other through obstacles, sharing equipment, covering each other's weaknesses. But they were also keeping track of who performed best, who solved problems fastest, who showed the most improvement. They're trying to win at teamwork, General Nix observed. Exactly, and they're very good at it. Admiral Voss studied the data for a long time. Outside his window, the gas giant's storms raged in patterns that had remained unchanged for millennia. Predictable, stable, unlike these humans. What's your assessment, Dr. Keth? He asked finally. The scientist's voice was quiet when he answered. I think we may have made an error in judgment, Admiral. How so? We invited them because we thought they were like us. Tough survivors who had earned their strength through hardship. Dr. Keth paused. But they're not like us at all. Explain. We survive despite our worlds. We endure hardship because we have to. But humans. Dr. Keth gestured at the performance, data still glowing in the air. Humans don't just survive hardship. They use it. They turn every challenge into an opportunity to become stronger. The room was quiet except for the distant hum of Titan Base's life support systems. Are you saying they're better than us? General Nix asked. I'm saying they're different from us in ways we didn't anticipate. We're warriors who have learned to survive. They're survivors who have learned to become warriors. Admiral Voss looked out at the gas giant's swirling storms. For the first time in his life, he wondered if the Alliance had made a mistake that couldn't be undone. Continue monitoring them, he ordered. I want to know everything about how they think, how they fight, and how they adapt. Yes, Admiral, Dr. Keth replied. But sir? What? What if we don't like what we find? Admiral Voss didn't answer. But as he watched the storms rage outside his window, he began to understand why some questions were better left unasked. The humans were here, now. And something told him that the galaxy would never be the same. The alarm bells rang through Titan Base at 600 hours. Admiral Voss had called an emergency meeting of the High Command. In the main briefing room, holographic displays showed star maps filled with red warning markers. The hegemony has made their move, Admiral Voss announced to the gathered officers. His massive form cast shadows across the room as he gestured at the displays. Their fleets are massing at the neutral zone. General Nix studied the tactical information. How many ships? 3,000 vessels, more than we've ever seen them deploy at once. Admiral Voss touched a control and the display zoomed in on specific fleet formations. They have new weapons. Our scouts report energy signatures we don't recognize. Commander Zek's image flickered as his hologram stabilized. The soft worlders are finally showing their teeth. What's our response? We fight as we always have, General Nick said. The Alliance has never backed down from the hegemony. This time might be different, Dr. Keth warned from his position at the science station. Intelligence suggests they've developed weapons specifically designed to counter our natural advantages. Admiral Voss nodded grimly. Which brings us to our new allies. He looked around the room. The humans have been with us for 3 months. It's time to see what they can really do. You want to test them in combat? General Nix asked. I want to test them in simulation first. If war comes, I need to know if they're assets or liabilities. 2 hours later, Colonel Mike Foster stood in Simulation Bay 7 with his team of 12 human Marines. The bay was the size of a small city, capable of creating perfect recreations of any battlefield in Alliance history. Colonel Foster was a calm man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had served in 3 wars on Earth before joining the Alliance exchange program. His team trusted him completely. Watching from the observation deck, Admiral Voss felt nervous for the first time in decades. Show them the Battle of Korvax Prime, he ordered. The simulation bay transformed. Artificial gravity fluctuated to match the high-gravity world where the Alliance had fought their greatest victory. The air became thick with toxic particles. The ground turned into sharp crystal formations that could cut through armor. This is our most difficult combat scenario, General Nix explained to the other observers. It recreates the battle where we lost 60% of our forces but still achieved victory. And you're testing humans with it? Asked Captain Vex. The Colonel requested our most challenging simulation, Admiral Voss replied. Let's see if he regrets that request. Down in the simulation, Colonel Foster surveyed the battlefield. Enemy. Positions appeared as holographic markers scattered across the crystal landscape. His objective was simple: capture the central command post within 2 hours while under constant enemy fire. This is interesting, he said to his team over the comm system. Tactical assessment? Sergeant Bill North, his second-in-command, studied the terrain through his visor display. Gravity's about twice Earth normal. Air's toxic but manageable with filters. Ground cover is minimal. Enemy positions? Foster asked. 47 defensive points overlapping fields of fire. Classic fortress setup. Corporal Dave West, their demolitions expert, grinned behind his helmet. They've got us outnumbered 8-1. Standard Tuesday then, Foster replied calmly. Up. In the observation deck, the Alliance officers exchanged glances. Standard Tuesday? The simulation began. Immediately, the human team did something unexpected. Instead of advancing toward the objective, they spread out and began studying the battlefield more carefully. Why aren't they attacking? Captain Vex asked. They're thinking, Dr. Keth observed. Look at their movement patterns. The humans were indeed thinking, but not in any way the Alliance recognized. While Alliance tactics focused on endurance and direct assault, the humans were analyzing the battlefield like a puzzle to be solved. Sergeant North, take teams Alpha and Beta left. Use the crystal formations for cover, Colonel Foster ordered. Corporal West, I need shaped charges on the northern defensive line. Private Kate Ross, you're our spotter. Private Ross was the team's youngest member, but she had eyes like a hawk. She found a position on a crystal outcropping and began calling out enemy movements. 12 hostiles, Sector 7, 23 in the main bunker. Wait. She paused, studying her scanner. Colonel, they're using predictable patrol patterns. Time intervals? Every 47 seconds like clockwork. Colonel Foster smiled. The Alliance fought with discipline and courage, but they also fought with predictable patterns. Teams were going to dance with them. What happened next would be discussed in Alliance tactical schools for years afterward. The humans didn't just attack the enemy positions. They turned the battlefield into a symphony of coordinated movement. When enemy patrols moved left, human teams appeared on the right. When defensive fire focused on one position, attacks came from 3 others. How are they moving so fast in high gravity? General Nix asked. They're not fighting the gravity, Dr. Keth realized. They're using it. Watch how they time their jumps. The humans had quickly adapted to the heavy gravity, using it to their advantage. When they jumped, they came down hard and fast. When they took cover, they stayed low and moved like they were part of the landscape. But it was their teamwork that truly amazed the observers. The humans communicated constantly, sharing information, adjusting tactics in real time. They didn't just coordinate their actions. They anticipated each other's needs. "Corporal West, charges ready?" Colonel Foster asked. 30 seconds, sir." "Private Ross, enemy response?" "They're shifting to counter your position, but they don't see West's team." "Sergeant North?" "In position and ready to move on your signal." The charges exploded. Enemy positions that had seemed impregnable suddenly had holes in their defenses. Before the simulated enemies could react, human teams were through the gaps and moving toward the central objective. The Alliance had taken 18 hours to win the Battle of Korvax Prime. The humans completed the simulation in 43 minutes. In the observation deck, silence stretched like a physical thing. "Run it again," Admiral Voss said quietly. "Sir?" Captain Vex asked. "Run the simulation again. Different parameters. Make it harder." The second simulation recreated the Siege of Iron Gate, a battle the Alliance had lost. The gravity was even higher, the toxic atmosphere was worse, and the enemy had twice as many defensive positions. The humans completed it in 38 minutes. The third simulation was pure fiction, a scenario designed to be impossible. The Alliance tactical computer had created it as a training exercise in accepting defeat gracefully. The humans won in 22 minutes and asked if there was anything more challenging. Admiral Voss dismissed the other officers and stood alone in the observation deck, watching Colonel Foster's team as they reviewed their performance. The humans weren't celebrating their victory. They were analyzing what they could have done better. "Sergeant North, your approach to Sector 12 was too direct," Colonel Foster was saying. "Next time, try a flanking movement." "Understood. Sir, what about ammunition conservation?" "Good point. We use 60% of our supplies. In a real engagement, that might not be sustainable." They were critiquing a perfect victory because it wasn't perfect enough. Admiral Voss activated his communicator. "Dr. Keth, report to Simulation Bay 7 immediately." When the scientist arrived, Admiral Voss pointed at the humans. "What am I looking at?" Dr. Keth watched the human team for several minutes. "Evolutionary. Perfection," he said finally. "Explain." "Every species in the Alliance evolved to survive their homeworld. We became tough, resilient, hard to kill, but humans evolved to survive a world that was constantly trying to kill them in new ways. The difference being, we learned to endure, they learned to adapt. We survive by being stronger than our environment. They survive by being smarter than their challenges." Admiral Voss watched Colonel Foster demonstrate a tactical movement to his team. The human officer was patient, thorough, and completely focused on improvement. "Dr. Keth, I want you to run a projection for me." "What kind of projection?" "Assume we go to war with the hegemony. Assume we include human forces in our battle plans. What's the likely outcome?" Dr. Keth was quiet for a long time. "Admiral, I don't think you want to know the answer to that question. Tell me anyway." "We would win. Decisively. Probably within the first month of fighting." Admiral Voss should have felt relief. Instead, he felt cold fear spreading through his chest. "And after we win?" "After we win, we would have a galaxy where the most effective military force is a species that treats warfare like a logic puzzle and gets better every time they fight." Down in the simulation bay, Colonel Foster was setting up another training exercise. His team gathered around him, eager to face new challenges, ready to turn any obstacle into an opportunity for improvement. Admiral Voss realized that the Alliance had created something they couldn't control. They had invited humans to join them as junior partners, but partners who could outfight the Alliance's greatest enemies weren't going to stay junior for very long. "Cancel all further testing," Admiral Voss ordered. "Sir?" "We've seen enough, more than enough." He turned away from the observation. window. And Dr. Keth? Yes, Admiral. Not a word about this to the Council. Not yet. As Admiral Voss left the simulation bay, he carried with him the knowledge that would soon change everything. The Alliance had wanted strong allies. Instead, they had found their replacements. The war began without warning. Hegemony fleet struck 3 Alliance border worlds simultaneously, their new weapons cutting through defensive positions like they were made of paper. Within 6 hours, 2 million Alliance citizens were dead. Admiral Voss stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Flame, watching reports stream in from the front lines. The massive dreadnought was 3 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that could crack planets. But even the mightiest ship felt small when facing total war. "Sir, we're getting confirmation from the Outer Rim," reported Captain Vex. "Hegemony. Forces have taken the Arcturus system. No survivors." General Nix's hologram flickered into view. "They're using some kind of focused energy weapon. It bypasses our armor completely. Our toughest ships are dying like insects." Admiral Voss felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Genuine fear. Not fear of death, which was always possible in war, but fear of defeat. Fear that the Alliance might actually lose. "What about human forces?" he asked. "Are they ready to deploy?" "Colonel Foster has been requesting combat assignment for the past week," General Nix replied. "His Marines are ready. But Admiral, after what we saw in the simulations..." "I know," Admiral Voss cut her off. "But we need every advantage we can get. Deploy them to the Nexus Station front." Nexus Station was a critical supply hub located at the crossroads of 3 major hyperspace routes. If it fell, the Hegemony could cut Alliance territory in half. Traditional Alliance tactics would have stationed their toughest warriors there for a grinding defensive battle. The humans had other ideas. Captain Ryan Walsh commanded the human forces at Nexus Station. He was younger than Colonel Foster, but had earned his rank through 3 brutal campaigns on Earth. His unit consisted of 200 Marines who had volunteered for the most dangerous assignments the Alliance could offer. When the Hegemony fleet arrived at Nexus Station, they expected to face the same kind of defense they had easily broken at other Alliance worlds. Instead, they found something that shouldn't have been possible. The station was empty. "Sir, we're detecting no defensive positions," reported the Hegemony fleet commander to his superior over subspace radio. "No ships, no weapons platforms, no personnel. It's like they abandoned it." "Impossible," came the reply. "Nexus Station is too important. It must be a trap. What are your orders?" "Take the station, but be careful." The Hegemony fleet moved forward cautiously. Their ships were sleek and elegant, built for speed and precision rather than the brutal durability of Alliance vessels. They approached Nexus Station with weapons ready, expecting an ambush that never came. They docked with the station and began sending boarding parties. The corridors were empty, but the lights were still on. Life support was running normally. Everything suggested a hasty evacuation. That's when Captain Walsh sprung his trap. The humans hadn't abandoned Nexus Station. They had turned it into a weapon now, Walsh said quietly into his communicator. Throughout the station, hidden charges exploded. But these weren't random explosions meant to destroy the facility. They were precisely calculated detonations designed to disable the docked Hegemony ships without destroying them completely. Simultaneously, human teams that had been hiding in maintenance shafts and cargo holds revealed themselves. They moved through the station like ghosts, striking at enemy boarding parties and disappearing before counterattacks could be organized. "What's happening?" the Hegemony fleet commander demanded as his ships began reporting system failures. "Some kind of sabotage, sir. They've damaged our engines and weapons but left life support intact. It's like they want to capture our ships rather than destroy them." "That's exactly what they want," came a new voice over the communication channel. The Hegemony officers froze. The voice was calm, confident, and speaking perfect Hegemony standard. "This is Captain Ryan Walsh of the Human Marines. You have 2 options. Surrender now, or find out why humans are considered the most dangerous species in Alliance space." "Humans?" The fleet commander's voice cracked slightly. I thought they were just a primitive species the Alliance recruited. Sir, one of his officers interrupted. We're detecting movement throughout the station, lots of movement. On the tactical displays, the hegemony could see heat signatures moving through every level of Nexus station, but the movement patterns made no sense. The signatures appeared, disappeared, and reappeared in places that should have been impossible to reach so quickly. They're using the maintenance systems, another officer realized. They know every corridor, every shaft, every hidden passage. Captain, Walsh's voice came through the speakers again. You have 30 seconds to respond to our surrender demand. This is Fleet Commander Voss of the Hegemony Navy, the commander replied, trying to sound confident. We outnumber you 10-1. Your position is hopeless. Actually, Walsh said calmly, you're trapped inside our position. There's a difference. What followed was unlike any battle in recorded galactic history. The humans didn't fight like Alliance warriors, who would charge forward and absorb massive casualties to achieve their objectives. They fought like hunters who had studied their prey for months. Every hegemony move was anticipated. Every tactical decision was countered before it could be implemented. When hegemony forces tried to regroup in the station's main hangar, they found the area filled with obstacles that channeled them into carefully prepared kill zones. When they attempted to retreat to their ships, they discovered that human engineers had already disabled the docking systems. The ships were trapped, unable to detach from the station. Sir, a hegemony officer reported frantically, they're not trying to kill us, they're hurting us. It was true. The humans were using minimum necessary force, wounding rather than killing, capturing rather than destroying. They moved through the station like they owned it, because in many ways, they did. They had studied the blueprints, memorized every system, and turned the facility into an extension of their own tactical thinking. Watching from his flagship, Admiral Voss received reports that seemed impossible. The humans have taken Nexus Station? He asked Captain Vex. Yes, sir. But they didn't defend it in any traditional sense. They used it as bait, then turned the entire facility into a trap. The hegemony fleet is intact but completely captured. Casualties? 17 humans wounded, none killed. Hegemony losses are minimal, mostly unconscious crew members who were stunned rather than eliminated. Admiral Voss stared at the tactical display. A human force of 200 had captured a hegemony fleet of 50 ships with 3,000 crew members, and they had done it without significant bloodshed on either side. Get me Captain Walsh, he ordered. A few minutes later, Captain Walsh's image appeared on the main screen. The human officer looked tired but alert. Behind him, hegemony prisoners were being processed by human Marines. Captain, report your status, Admiral Voss said. Nexus Station is secure, Admiral. We have captured 47 enemy vessels and approximately 3,000 prisoners. The station's strategic position is maintained. How? Admiral Voss asked. Our intelligence suggested the hegemony fleet was superior to anything we could field. Captain Walsh smiled. With respect, Admiral, intelligence was correct about their technology. Their ships are faster, and their weapons are more advanced than ours. Then how did you win? We didn't fight their ships, sir. We fought their assumptions. Admiral Voss didn't understand, and his expression must have shown it. The hegemony expected us to fight like Alliance forces, Walsh explained. Strong, direct, willing to absorb casualties to achieve objectives. Instead, we fought like humans, which means we turned their strengths into weaknesses. Their advanced ships became trapped cargo when we disabled the docking systems. Their superior numbers became a disadvantage when we forced them to fight in small groups. Their better technology didn't help them when the real battle was about understanding the battlefield itself. Admiral Voss felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. What are your recommendations for future engagements? Give us more challenging assignments, Walsh said without hesitation. This was a good warm-up, but we're ready for real combat operations. Admiral Voss ended the transmission and stood alone in his command center. Through the viewports, he could see the stars that had been Alliance territory for centuries. Soon, if the war went as Captain Walsh seemed to expect, those stars would be under human protection. The thought should have been comforting. Instead, it terrified him. General Nix's hologram appeared beside him. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender communications from Hegemony High Command. They want to open peace negotiations immediately." "They're surrendering?" The war just started. Apparently, news of the Nexus Station battle has reached their leadership. They are requesting terms. Admiral Voss understood. The Hegemony had seen what humans could do with minimal resources and limited support. They were intelligent enough to realize what would happen if humans were given the full backing of the Alliance war machine. "Schedule the negotiations," he ordered. "And General?" "Yes, Admiral? Make sure the human representatives are present. It seems our new allies will be doing most of the talking from now on." As General Nix's hologram faded, Admiral Voss realized that the war was over before it had truly begun. The Alliance had won. But the victory belonged to humanity, and that changed everything. 6 months after the Hegemony surrender, Admiral Voss walked through the corridors of Titan Base and no longer recognized his own command. The walls still bore the same volcanic stone. The air still carried the familiar scent of sulfur and metal. But everything else had changed. Human efficiency had infected every system. Where Alliance personnel once took 3 hours to complete routine maintenance, mixed human-alien teams finished the same work in 45 minutes. Where supply requisitions used to require 5 different approvals, humans had streamlined the process to one signature with better security than the old system. They hadn't demanded these changes. They had simply started doing things better, and everyone else had naturally followed their lead. Admiral Voss paused outside the medical bay and watched through the transparent aluminum windows. Dr. Lisa Park was teaching a class to Alliance medical personnel. The human doctor had revolutionized their approach to trauma treatment by applying what she called combat medicine principles. "The key is to treat the injury like an enemy that must be defeated," she was explaining to her mixed species audience. "Don't just repair the damage. Understand why it happened and prevent it from happening again." Dr. Keth, once the Alliance's chief medical researcher, now served as her assistant. The gray-skinned scientist hung on her every word like a student, learning from a master. Admiral Voss continued walking. In the engineering section, he found similar scenes. Tony Blake, a human engineer, had redesigned their ship construction protocols by studying how humans built things on Earth, not just for function, but to survive in hostile environments. "Every system needs 3 backups," Tony was explaining, to a group of Alliance engineers. "But more importantly, every backup needs to be different from the primary system. If one fails, you need to know the others won't fail for the same reason." The Alliance had always built tough ships. Human-designed ships were tough, smart, and adaptable. They could literally rebuild themselves during combat if necessary. But it was in the command center that Admiral Voss encountered the most disturbing change. Ambassador Rachel Green sat at what used to be the secondary command station, coordinating with Alliance leaders across the galaxy. The human diplomat had restructured their entire communication network, making it faster, more secure, and more responsive than anything they had previously achieved. "Admiral Voss," she greeted him warmly. "Perfect timing. The council meeting is about to begin." Admiral Voss took his place at the main command chair, but he noticed that most of the other Alliance leaders were looking at Ambassador Green rather than him. She had become the person they turned to for solutions, guidance, and leadership. The holographic council chamber materialized around them. General Nix appeared from her flagship, Commander Zek from the outer systems, and the other Alliance leaders from their various posts. But now, human advisors stood beside each of them. "The quarterly efficiency reports," General Nix announced. "Production is up 40% across all sectors. Resource waste is down by 60%. Response times for military operations have improved by 70%. "Excellent news," Admiral Voss said, but the numbers didn't make him happy. They terrified him. "There's more," Commander Zek added. "The new human-designed training programs have reduced injury rates by 80%, while improving combat effectiveness by 50%. Captain Vex, Admiral Voss's own aide, cleared his throat. "Sir, there's something else we need to discuss." "What?" "Recruitment numbers. Every species in Alliance space is requesting human advisors. The waiting list for human-led programs now extends for 2 years. Admiral Voss felt a cold weight in his stomach. And human population numbers? Ambassador Green answered smoothly. Growing steadily. Human families are adapting well to life throughout Alliance space. Birth rates are up, and our children are being raised in integrated communities across 12 different worlds. How many humans are there now in Alliance space? Approximately 2 million, with another million expected to arrive in the next year as Earth continues its colonization program. Admiral Voss did quick mental calculations. In less than a year, humans had gone from being rare curiosities to comprising nearly 10% of the Alliance's total population. At this rate, they would be the majority within a decade. What about Earth itself? He asked. Still growing, Ambassador Green replied. Current population is approaching 8 billion. They're very interested in establishing trade relationships with Alliance worlds. 8 billion. The Alliance's total population, across 12 species, was only 30 million. Earth alone had more people than the rest of the Alliance combined. After the meeting ended, Admiral Voss found himself alone with General Nix's hologram. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "I was hoping you'd say that," General Nix replied. "Private channel?" Admiral Voss activated the security protocols. "What's your assessment of the current situation?" "Honestly, we're being replaced. Not conquered, not defeated, just made obsolete." "Explain." General Nix's image flickered as she organized her thoughts. "Every human innovation makes us better at what we do. But it also makes us less necessary. They don't take control by force, they take control by being indispensable." Examples. My own command staff now includes 3 human advisors. When I make decisions, I find myself asking, what would the humans do? When problems arise, my first instinct is to consult with them. They've become the standard by which we measure competence. Admiral Voss understood. The same thing was happening throughout his own command structure. "But they're helping us," he said. "Our efficiency is up, our casualty rates are down, our technology is improving." "That's exactly the problem," General Nix replied. "We're becoming dependent on their help. And dependence becomes subordination, even when nobody intends it." Admiral Voss walked to his viewport and looked out at the stars. "What's the alternative? They haven't threatened us. They haven't made demands. They're model citizens and allies." "I know. That's what makes this so terrifying." That evening, Admiral Voss visited the station's recreation area. Human families were there, children playing games that looked like military training exercises. Alliance young ones joined in eagerly, learning human games, human strategies, human ways of thinking. He watched a human child, no more than 8 years old, teach a group of young Alliance members how to play something called Capture the Flag. The rules were simple, but the strategy was complex. The human child naturally took command, organizing teams, assigning roles, adapting tactics in real time. The Alliance children followed her lead without question. It seemed natural to them. Admiral Voss realized he was looking at the future. A generation of Alliance citizens who would grow up thinking like humans, solving problems like humans, leading like humans. He found Dr. Keth in the medical bay, working late on research that had been inspired by human innovations. "Doctor, I need your honest assessment of our situation." Dr. Keth looked up from his work. "Which situation, Admiral? Our military position? Our technological advancement? Our social integration? Our survival as an independent alliance?" Dr. Keth was quiet for a long moment. "Admiral, we invited humans because we thought they were like us, tough survivors who had earned their place through hardship. But they're not like us. No, we're warriors who learn to survive. They're problem solvers who learn to fight. We adapt to our environment. They adapt their environment to themselves." Admiral Voss sat down heavily. "What happens next?" "I think we become part of something larger," Dr. Keth said. "Not through conquest, but through evolution. Humans don't destroy what they encounter, they improve it, optimize it, integrated into something better. And if we resist? Resist what? They haven't attacked us, haven't made demands, haven't threatened our independence. They've just been helpful. Admiral Voss understood the trap they had fallen into. Humans had made themselves necessary not through force but through competence. They had become the solution to every problem, the answer to every challenge, the standard by which success was measured. The Alliance will survive, Dr. Keth continued, but it will be a human-led alliance, not because they conquered us, but because we chose to follow them. As Admiral Voss returned to his quarters, he passed through corridors filled with humans and Alliance members working together. They were building something new, not human civilization, not Alliance civilization, but something that combined the best of both. It should have made him proud. Instead, it made him understand why some invitations could never be withdrawn. The Deathworld Alliance had invited humans as junior partners. Within a year, they had become indispensable advisors. Within a generation, they would be natural leaders. Not through conquest, but through competence. Not through force, but through excellence. Not through war, but through being so useful that life without them became unimaginable. Admiral Voss stood at his window looking out at stars that had been Alliance territory for centuries. Soon they would still be Alliance stars, but the Alliance would be something entirely different. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, but as collaborators. And that, Admiral Voss realized, was far more dangerous than any army could ever be. The invitation had been extended in hope of gaining strong allies. Instead, they had invited their own transformation. And there was no going back.
The endless black of space stretched out before Captain Jack Harlow as he stared through the main viewport of the salvage vessel Prospector. Chunks of space debris drifted by, glinting in the distant starlight. This uncharted sector was supposed to be empty, just floating junk and dust. But his scanner had picked up something big, something metal, something old. "You sure about this, Captain?" Lisa asked, her fingers dancing over the navigation controls. Her short red hair caught the blue glow of the console lights. "We're way off our normal route." Jack nodded, his weathered face set with determination. "The scanner doesn't lie. Something's out there. Something big. Better be worth the fuel," grumbled Tom from the engineering station. The old mechanic had been with Jack for 15 years and still complained about every detour. The Prospector pushed forward through the debris field, its lights cutting through the darkness. Then suddenly they saw it. "Holy stars," whispered Lisa. Floating silently in the void was a massive warship. Its dark hull was scarred with blast marks. Parts of it were torn open, showing the ship's insides. But despite the damage, it was clearly intact. And it was huge, at least 5 times bigger than the Prospector. "Is that human design?" Tom asked, leaning forward. Jack checked the database. "It's the UES Vengeance, a warship from the First Contact War." His voice dropped to a whisper. "It was reported destroyed over 200 years ago." The crew fell silent. Everyone knew about the First Contact War. How humanity had reached for the stars, only to meet the Krell. An alien empire that saw humans as a threat. The war had nearly wiped out Earth. Humans now lived on just a few colony worlds, always under the shadow of Krell rule. "We should call this in," Lisa said finally, reaching for the comm system. Jack caught her wrist. "To who?" "The Krell. So they can take it away." He shook his head. "This is the find of a lifetime. We're checking it out first." Lisa frowned. "Jack, that's a military vessel. There could be automated defenses, traps." "After 200 years, doubtful," Jack replied. "Besides, salvage law is clear. Finder's rights." An hour later, Jack, Lisa, and Tom floated through the empty corridors of the Vengeance, their magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor when they chose to use them. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing a ship frozen in time. "Look at this," Tom said, shining his light on a wall covered in blast marks. "They fought hard. Jack nodded grimly. The signs of battle were everywhere. Makeshift barricades, empty weapon casings, and darker stains that he tried not to think about. The ship's huge, Lisa noted, checking her scanner. Power readings are minimal. But wait, there's something active in the center of the ship. Very low energy signature. They followed the signal through winding corridors until they reached a sealed door marked AI Core. Authorized DP personnel only. Can we get in? Jack asked. Tom examined the door. No power to the lock. We'll have to force it. It took all three of them to push the heavy door open. Inside, they found a room filled with what looked like outdated computer equipment. In the center was a glowing blue cube, pulsing weakly. That's the ship's AI core, Lisa said, scanning it. Somehow it's still running on emergency power after all this time. Jack approached the cube. Can we talk to it? Lisa shook her head. Not enough power. It's barely maintaining itself. Tom reached into his pack and pulled out a portable power cell. This might help. It's not much. But do it, Jack ordered. Lisa grabbed his arm. Jack, think about this. Activating an unknown military AI. We have no idea what its last orders were, what protocols it's following. Jack looked around the dead ship, feeling the weight of its history. This is our history, Lisa. Human history. Don't you want to know what happened here? Before she could answer, Tom connected the power cell to the AI core. The blue glow brightened, and the cube began to hum. A voice, crackling and distorted, filled the room. Systems. Rebooting. Emergency power detected. Activating limited functions. A hologram flickered to life above the cube. The image of a man in an old Earth military uniform. His features sharp and serious. I am Victor, artificial intelligence of the United Earth Ship Vengeance. Identify yourselves. Jack stepped forward. Captain Jack Harlow of the salvage vessel Prospector. This is my first officer, Lisa, and my engineer, Tom. The hologram seemed to study them. Date verification required. It's March 2, 2425, Lisa said. The hologram flickered. Processing. 203 years since my last active status. Situation assessment required. Is Earth? Did Earth survive? The three humans exchanged glances. Earth survived, Jack said carefully. But it's not what it was. The Krell won the war. Humans live on a few colony worlds now, under Krell rule. Victor's hologram showed no emotion, but the blue light of the cube pulsed more quickly. Unacceptable outcome. The Vengeance was created to prevent this very scenario. The AI paused. Captain Harlow, this vessel contains technologies that were experimental even during the war. Weapons systems, defensive capabilities, and propulsion methods that were never deployed elsewhere. Jack felt his heart rate increase. Are you saying this ship still works? With repairs, yes. I have maintained critical systems in low-power hibernation, following my final directive. Survive and protect humanity's legacy. Suddenly, alarms blared through the room. Victor's hologram looked up sharply. Warning. Unknown vessel approaching. Configuration matches Krell scout ship. Lisa's scanner beeped urgently. He's right. Krell signatures. They must have detected our power-up. We need to go. Now, Tom said, already heading for the door. Jack hesitated, looking at the AI core. Victor. The hologram nodded. You must leave. The Vengeance is not ready for combat. But take this. A small data port opened on the cube. Connect your data tablet. I will download a compressed copy of myself. Humanity must know what happened here. As the alarms grew louder, Jack quickly connected his tablet. Data streamed into it for a few seconds, then stopped. Go, Victor said. Return when you can. The Vengeance awaits its crew. The three humans raced back through the corridors toward their ship. Just as they reached the airlock, they saw the Krell scout ship approaching through the viewport. They haven't spotted us yet, Lisa said. If we power down and drift out on minimal thrusters. Do it, Jack ordered. As the prospector silently slipped away from the ancient warship, Jack looked down at his tablet. The screen glowed with a simple message: humanity's last hope restored. Awaiting instructions. The hunt had begun, and the forgotten ship would soon become the deadliest in the universe. 3 days after their narrow escape from the Krell scout ship, Jack sat in his small apartment on Nova Harbor. The largest remaining human settlement wasn't much to look at, just a cluster of buildings under a protective dome on a rocky moon. But it was home to almost 50,000 humans, living out their lives under the watchful eyes of their Krell rulers. Jack stared at his data tablet, which sat on his cluttered desk. He hadn't dared connect it to any network since returning. The compressed AI named Victor might be the most valuable and dangerous thing on Nova Harbor. A soft knock on his door made him jump. "It's me," Lisa called quietly. Jack let her in, checking the hallway before closing the door. "Any news?" Lisa nodded, her face grim. 3 Krell enforcers were asking questions at the docks today, showing pictures of the prospector. "They know something." "How?" "We didn't file a report. We didn't tell anyone. The scout ship must have spotted us after all." Lisa sat heavily on Jack's worn couch. "Tom says we should wipe the tablet and forget we ever found that ship." Jack shook his head. "We can't. This is too important." He picked up the tablet. "We need to know what's on here." "Jack, be reasonable. That's a military AI from a warship. Connecting it to any system is asking for trouble." "Then we'll be careful." Jack pulled an old computer terminal from his closet. "This is a standalone system, not connected to any network. We can see what Victor has to say without risking anything." Lisa didn't look convinced, but she helped Jack set up the terminal. When everything was ready, Jack connected the tablet. The screen flickered, then filled with scrolling data. After a moment, a simplified version of Victor's hologram appeared. "Captain Harlow, you have successfully extracted me from the Vengeance." "Thank you." Jack leaned forward. "Victor, what exactly are you? What is the Vengeance?" The hologram seemed to consider this. "I am a 5th-generation military artificial intelligence created for the UES Vengeance, Earth's final weapon in the First Contact War. I was designed to learn, adapt, and preserve humanity's knowledge and technology." "And the Vengeance?" Lisa asked. "The most advanced warship ever built by human hands, constructed in secret using reverse-engineered Krell technology, combined with human innovations." Victor's hologram paused. "I need to understand the current situation. How did the war end? What is humanity's status?" Jack and Lisa exchanged looks. Then Jack explained how, according to history, humans had started the war through their aggression. How the Krell had mercifully spared Earth, but restricted humans to a handful of colonies under strict control. How humanity had been contained for the greater good. Victor's hologram flickered with what almost looked like anger. "Lies. All lies." The AI's voice became sharper. The First Contact War began when human scientists discovered a fatal flaw in Krell faster-than-light drive technology, a flaw that would eventually lead to catastrophic failures across their fleet. "What?" Jack felt cold suddenly. "That's not what we've been taught." When humanity attempted to share this information, the Krell leadership feared losing their technological advantage. They struck first, destroying Earth's major cities and research centers. Victor's image stabilized. "The Vengeance was our answer, a ship with technology decades ahead of anything else humans had built." Lisa shook her head in disbelief. "If that's true, why did we lose?" "The ship was never fully deployed. During its maiden voyage, a Krell strike team managed to board. In the ensuing battle, most of the crew was killed. The captain activated emergency protocols before dying. I was instructed to protect the ship and wait for rescue." Victor's voice softened. "A rescue that never came. Until now." Jack sat back, his mind racing. The Krell lied about everything. They've been controlling us based on a false history. And they might still need human help, Victor added. If my calculations were correct, the flaw in their FTL drive would begin to manifest serious problems approximately 200 years after our initial discovery. Which would be right about now, Lisa whispered. A loud bang on the apartment door made them all freeze. Captain Jack Harlow, a mechanical voice called from outside. By order of the Krell Imperium, open this door immediately. Jack quickly disconnected the tablet from the terminal. Is there anything else on the prospector that could connect us to the Vengeance? Lisa shook her head. Nothing they could find easily. The banging continued. Final warning. Open or we breach. Jack grabbed a bag and stuffed the tablet inside. We need to get back to the ship, back to the Vengeance. How? The prospector is probably being watched. Jack smiled grimly. Then we'll have to steal a different ship. The door exploded inward. 3 Krell enforcers stood in the hallway, their scaled bodies covered in sleek armor, weapons raised. They were tall, reptilian, with 4 arms and yellow eyes that locked onto the humans. Surrender for questioning, the lead Krell ordered. Jack glanced at the window behind him. They were only on the 2nd floor. Not today, he said, grabbing Lisa's hand. They crashed through the window together, landing hard on a lower roof. Alarms blared as they ran, ducking through the narrow alleys of Nova Harbor. The Krell would be right behind them. Tom's place is closest. Lisa panted as they ran. No, Jack replied. The docks. We need to move now. They changed direction, heading for the smaller emergency docks where courier ships were kept ready for quick missions. You have a plan? Lisa asked as they hid behind a cargo container, watching the dock security. Jack patted his bag with the tablet inside. Victor and I do. The AI's voice came from the tablet. The courier ship in Bay 3 has minimal security. Its systems are basic enough that I can interface with them. And then what? Lisa asked. The Vengeance is days away even at full speed. And the Krell will follow us, Jack added. Victor's voice remained calm. The Vengeance has technologies you cannot imagine, Captain Harlow. But I need to be restored to its systems. With your help, we can awaken the deadliest ship in the universe. A patrol of Krell soldiers marched past their hiding spot. When they were gone, Jack looked at Lisa. Are you with me? She hesitated only a moment. This is probably suicide. Probably, Jack agreed. Then let's go steal a ship. Using Victor's guidance, they managed to reach Bay 3 without being spotted. The courier ship was small but fast, designed for carrying important messages between colonies. As Jack worked on the door controls, Lisa kept watch. Jack, about what Victor said. If it's true, then everything we know is a lie. Jack finished. And we might be the only ones who can do something about it. The door slid open. They slipped inside the ship and made their way to the cockpit. Jack connected the tablet to the ship's computer. Initiating override, Victor announced. The ship's systems came to life under the AI's control. As the engines began to hum, alarms sounded across the dock. They had been discovered. Hang on, Jack said, taking the controls as Victor released them to him. This is going to be close. The small ship shot out of the bay, narrowly missing a security barrier. Behind them, Nova Harbor quickly grew smaller. Course set for the Vengeance, Victor reported. Estimated arrival in 36 hours. Jack looked at Lisa, determination in his eyes. Let's go wake up the deadliest ship in the universe. Little did they know that Admiral Dorax, the most feared Krell commander, had already received word of their escape, and he understood exactly what was at stake. The hunt had begun. The small courier ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder. Through the viewport, Jack and Lisa could see the endless field of space debris, and beyond it, the massive shape of the UES Vengeance. But they weren't alone. Krell cruiser detected, Victor announced from the tablet. They arrived before us. Jack zoomed in on the viewing screen. A sleek, predatory-looking ship hovered near the ancient human warship. It was at least 10 times the size of their stolen courier vessel. They're trying to board the Vengeance, Lisa said, pointing to small shuttlecraft moving between the cruiser and the old warship. Jack's hands tightened on the controls. We can't fight that cruiser. No, Victor agreed, but we can avoid detection. The Krell rely heavily on energy signatures for tracking. Reduced power to minimal life support and drift on momentum. We'll be sitting ducks, Lisa protested. The Krell are focused on the Vengeance, Victor explained. Their sensors are calibrated for large power sources, not a nearly dead ship. Jack nodded and powered down almost everything. The courier ship grew cold quickly as they drifted toward the debris field, using only tiny bursts from the maneuvering thrusters. We need to reach Airlock 7, Victor instructed. It connects to a maintenance tunnel the Krell are unlikely to have discovered. For a tense hour, they floated through the debris, watching the Krell shuttles come and go. Finally, they reached the underside of the massive warship. There, Lisa whispered, pointing to a barely visible hatch. Jack carefully aligned their ship and extended the docking tube. It connected with a soft thud that seemed too loud in the quiet ship. Will the airlock even work after all this time? Lisa asked. Manual override should function, Victor replied. The Vengeance was designed to operate even with significant damage. Jack grabbed his toolkit and the tablet containing Victor. Let's find out. It took 20 minutes of careful work in their spacesuits to get the old airlock functioning. When the inner door finally creaked open, they slipped inside a dark, narrow tunnel. Where are the Krell boarding parties? Jack asked, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. Main command deck and engine room, based on their movement patterns, Victor replied. We need to reach the AI core. From there, I can regain control of the ship's systems. They moved quietly through the maintenance tunnel, which eventually opened into a larger corridor. The ship seemed dead around them, but occasionally they heard distant sounds, metallic clangs, voices, movement. The Krell are still searching the ship, Lisa whispered. As they approached the AI core room, Jack held up his hand, stopping them. Ahead, 2 Krell soldiers stood guard outside the door. They found it, he whispered. Lisa pulled out her small stun pistol, the only weapon they had brought. 2 shots, maybe 3 before it's drained. Jack looked around, thinking fast. We don't need to fight them. Look. He pointed to a control panel on the wall. Environmental controls. Understanding dawned on Lisa's face. They backtracked to the panel. Jack connected Victor's tablet to it. Can you control this section's gravity? He asked the AI. Affirmative. The backup systems respond to my commands. A moment later, warning lights flashed in the corridor ahead. The 2 Krell guards looked up in confusion just as the gravity reversed. They were slammed against the ceiling, their weapons floating away uselessly. Now, Jack urged, and they pushed forward, floating easily in their magnetic boots while the Krell struggled against the reverse gravity. They reached the AI core room and sealed the door behind them. Inside, the blue cube glowed brighter than before. The Krell had supplied it with more power for their investigation. Connect me to the main system, Victor instructed. Jack placed the tablet against the cube's interface. Data began streaming between them, the lights in the room flickering as Victor transferred back into the ship's systems. A hologram appeared above the cube, more detailed than before. Transfer complete. I am home. Victor's voice now came from the ship's speakers rather than the tablet. What now? Lisa asked, glancing nervously at the door. The Krell cruiser is still out there, and there are boarding parties all over the ship. Now, Victor said, we wake the Vengeance. Lights began coming on throughout the room. A low hum built around them as systems long dormant stirred to life. Emergency power activated. Primary weapons, offline. Secondary weapons, partially functional. Shields, minimal capacity. Engines, startup sequence initiated. Jack felt the deck vibrate beneath his feet. Victor, the Krell will know the ship is powering up. Indeed, they are already returning to their cruiser. The hologram shifted to show internal sensors. Krell soldiers were rushing back toward their shuttlecraft. We have approximately 7 minutes before they can bring weapons to bear. Can this ship fight back? Lisa asked. After 200 years. Not at full capacity, Victor admitted. But the Vengeance has one advantage. Me. An alarm sounded, and a new section of the room opened up. Inside was a chair surrounded by control interfaces, a captain's command station. Jack Harlow, Victor said formally. Biometric scans show you share genetic markers with Captain Thomas Harlow, this vessel's original commander and your ancestor. The ship's systems will respond best to your commands. Jack stared at the chair. I'm no warship captain. You don't need to be, Victor replied. I can handle most functions. I need you for authentication and strategic decisions. The ship shuddered as the Krell cruiser fired a warning shot. Time to decide, Captain, Lisa said, a grim smile on her face. Jack took a deep breath and sat in the command chair. Displays lit up around him, responding to his presence. He felt the ship connecting to him somehow, its systems extending his awareness. Victor, what weapons do we have? Adaptive defense grid at 30%. Main cannons need another hour to charge, but we have railguns and countermeasures. The Krell cruiser fired again, this time a full attack. The Vengeance rocked under the impact. Shields holding at minimal capacity, Victor reported. Their weapons are powerful, but predictable. Jack gripped the arms of the chair. Can we run? Engines at 40%. Enough for short-range maneuvers, not enough for escape, Victor replied. We must fight. Then let's show them what this forgotten ship can do, Jack said, newfound determination in his voice. Target their weapons first. The Vengeance shuddered as ancient weapons came online. Railguns deployed from hidden compartments in the hull, targeting the cruiser's main weapon banks with surprising accuracy. How are you hitting them so precisely? Lisa asked, watching the tactical display in amazement. The Vengeance was designed to learn, Victor explained. Every hit we take teaches our targeting systems about their defenses. Every shot they fire reveals their weapon signatures. The Krell cruiser, caught off guard by the sudden counterattack, tried to back away. But the Vengeance was already adapting, predicting its movements. Their engines are vulnerable, Victor announced. Firing solution ready. Take the shot, Jack ordered. The railguns fired in perfect sequence. On the display, they watched as the energy blasts tore through the cruiser's engine section. Secondary explosions rippled across the Krell ship. Direct hit, Victor reported. Their main power is failing. The Krell cruiser drifted, its weapons silent, emergency lights blinking across its hull. Did we win? Lisa asked in disbelief. For now, Jack said, rising from the command chair. But they'll send more ships once they realize what happened. Victor's hologram nodded. The resurrection of the Vengeance is only beginning, Captain. Many systems remain offline. But now we have time to restore them. As repair drones activated throughout the ship, Jack looked at the tactical display showing the crippled Krell cruiser. What happens when the Vengeance is fully operational? He asked quietly. Victor's hologram seemed to stand taller. Then we reveal the truth about the war. Then we give humanity back its freedom. And then, Jack added, we become the deadliest ship in the universe. Admiral Dorax, we've lost contact with the scout cruiser. The Krell admiral turned slowly from the viewport of his command ship, his yellow eyes narrowing to slits. Unlike the common soldiers, Dorax was massive, his scaled skin bearing the ceremonial scars of 100 battles. The 4 arms of his upper body were adorned with the metal bands of high rank. Show me the last transmission, he ordered. His communication officer, a smaller Krell, quickly pulled up the data. The screen showed grainy footage of an old human warship suddenly lighting up, weapons deploying. Then static. Impossible. Dorax hissed. That ship was dead. We confirmed it decades ago. The energy readings before transmission loss were unusual, the science officer reported. not consistent with known human technology. Dorak slammed one of his fists on the command console. Prepare the battle fleet. I want the ship found and destroyed. 3 days had passed since the battle with the Krell cruiser. On the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Jack sat in the captain's chair, watching as repair drones worked tirelessly throughout the ship. Lisa and Tom, who had been picked up from a secret rendezvous point, managed different stations. Shield capacity now at 60%. Victor reported, his hologram standing beside Jack. Main weapons at 48%. Engines at 70%. Not enough to face a real battle fleet, Tom said, looking up from the engineering console. Jack nodded. How long until we're at full power? At current repair rate, approximately 2 weeks, Victor replied. Lisa shook her head. We don't have 2 weeks. Every Krell ship in the sector will be looking for us. Then we don't stay here, Jack decided. Victor, can we jump to FTL? The faster-than-light drive is operational, but with limitations. We cannot sustain maximum speed. We don't need maximum. We just need to keep moving. Jack stood up and walked to the large tactical display. Show me human colonies within our range. A map appeared, showing dozens of small dots representing human settlements scattered across several star systems. We can't go to any major colony, Lisa warned. The Krell will be watching them all. What about here? Jack pointed to a small dot on the edge of the map. Outpost 37. It's a mining facility. Small population, minimal Krell presence. Victor analyzed the location. A viable option. They have resources we could use for repairs. Set course, Jack ordered. Tom, what else do we need besides basic repair materials? The old engineer thought for a moment. If this ship is as advanced as Victor claims, we need specialized components. Quantum processors, adaptive metal alloys. Things you won't find at a mining outpost. Victor's hologram flickered as he processed this information. There is another option. The Vengeance was equipped with an advanced manufacturing system. With raw materials, we can fabricate most components we need. Really? Tom's eyes widened. I've never heard of technology like that. Because it was never shared with the wider human fleet, Victor explained. The Vengeance was a prototype in every way. The ship shuddered slightly as the FTL drive engaged. Through the viewport, stars stretched into lines as they accelerated. What else can this ship do that we don't know about? Lisa asked. Victor's hologram seemed to stand straighter. The Vengeance houses 3 key technologies that were revolutionary. The adaptive defense system, which learns from attacks and strengthens accordingly. The manufacturing system Tom will find useful. And most importantly, a solution to the Krell FTL flaw. The flaw you mentioned before, Jack remembered. The one that started the war. Correct. Human scientists discovered that the Krell faster-than-light drives create microscopic tears in spacetime. Each tear is insignificant, but the cumulative effect over centuries would be catastrophic, potentially collapsing travel routes and even inhabited systems. Lisa frowned, and the Krell attacked us instead of fixing the problem. Their leadership feared losing their technological advantage over other species, Victor explained. They believed conquering humanity would bury the knowledge forever. But it didn't, Jack said, looking at the AI. Because of you, because of this ship. Victor nodded. The Vengeance carries complete records of human research, including a modified FTL drive design that eliminates the flaw. Tom whistled. No wonder the Krell want this ship destroyed. Which is why we need to be ready when they find us, Jack said. And they will find us. They reached Outpost 37 a day later. The small mining facility orbited a rocky planet rich in rare minerals. After some tense communication, the outpost's human administrator agreed to help them, partly out of curiosity, partly from fear of the massive warship that had appeared on their doorstep. As loading drones transferred mining material to the Vengeance, Jack stood in a small observation room with Greg, the outpost administrator. You understand what helping us means, Jack said quietly. When the Krell find out, they'll punish us, Greg finished. His face was lined with years of hard work. We know the risk. But if what you've told me is true, about the war, about what this ship can do, it's worth it. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the outpost. A young woman burst into the room. Krell ships, she shouted, just dropped out of FTL. 5 cruisers and a command carrier. Jack's blood ran cold. He activated his comm. Victor, what's our status? Loading is 70% complete. Shields at 65%. Weapons at 52%. Not enough, Jack muttered. He turned to Greg. Get your people to safety. We'll draw them away. Back on the Vengeance, Jack rushed to the bridge. Lysa was already at her station. It's Admiral Dorax, she said grimly. The Krell's most decorated fleet commander. On the main screen, they could see the approaching Krell ships, sleek, predatory vessels forming a hunting formation around an enormous command carrier. They're hailing us, Tom reported. Jack nodded. Put them through. The screen changed to show Admiral Dorax. Even through the transmission, his presence was intimidating. Human vessel, Dorax said, his voice deep and cold. You have stolen Krell property. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Jack glanced at Victor, who nodded slightly. This ship is not Krell property, Jack replied firmly. It's human-built with human technology. Technology your people tried to bury along with the truth. Dorax's upper arms crossed. You know nothing of truth, human. Your species was contained for the greater good of all spacefaring races. You mean for the greater good of the Krell Imperium, Jack countered. We know about the FTL flaw, Admiral. We know why you really attacked us. For a moment, Dorax seemed shocked. Then his face hardened. You will not leave this system alive, he hissed, cutting the transmission. Krell ships moving into attack formation, Lysa reported. Jack sat in the captain's chair, feeling the weight of command. Victor, what are our options? We cannot win a direct confrontation yet, the AI admitted. But the Vengeance was designed for asymmetric warfare. Meaning? We don't need to defeat them. We just need to survive long enough to complete our mission. Tom looked up. The mining outpost has deep tunnels running through the planet's asteroid belt. We could use them to hide and strike. Jack nodded. Like the old submarine warfare from Earth's history. Set course for the asteroid belt. Let's show Admiral Dorax that the hunt won't be as easy as he thinks. As the Vengeance accelerated toward the asteroid field, Jack watched the approaching Krell fleet. The forgotten ship was awakening more with each passing day. Soon, it would truly become the deadliest in the universe. But first, they needed to survive. For 2 days, the Vengeance played a deadly game of hide and seek among the asteroids. Admiral Dorax's fleet hunted relentlessly, but the ancient warship proved surprisingly elusive. In the ship's manufacturing bay, Tom worked tirelessly with the automated systems. His face was streaked with sweat and grease as he inspected a newly created component. Amazing, he muttered. This technology is centuries ahead of anything I've ever seen. Lysa entered the bay, carrying a datapad. Jack wants an update. How are the repairs coming? Tom held up the shiny piece of equipment. Better than expected. This adaptive metal can integrate with damaged systems without full replacement. We're up to 78% on shields and 70% on weapons. Good, Lysa said, glancing at her pad. Because our luck is running out. The Krell have changed tactics. They're using sensor drones to map the entire asteroid field. Tom's expression darkened. How long until they find us? Hours, maybe less. Back on the bridge, Jack studied the tactical display with Victor. The Krell ships were systematically cutting off escape routes, tightening their net around the Vengeance. We need more time, Jack said. Another day would get us to nearly full capacity. Victor's hologram indicated the map. There is one option, Captain. This section of the asteroid field extends into the planet's radiation belt. The radiation would mask our signature, but it would also affect our shields. And the crew. The command center has additional shielding. It would be unsafe elsewhere on the ship. Jack nodded. Do it. Tom and Lisa can join me in the command center. Route all critical functions there. As the Vengeance pushed deeper into the radiation belt, the Krell sensor drones lost track of it. Admiral Dorax, watching from his command ship, slammed his fist on his chair. Find that ship, he roared. Deploy more drones. They cannot hide forever. His science officer approached cautiously. Admiral, our analysis of the debris from our damaged cruiser is complete. The human vessel appears to be using technology that matches theoretical designs from our own research division. What are you saying? Dorax growled. The humans may have solved the FTL stability problem that our scientists have been working on for decades. Dorax went very still. The Imperium Council must never know this. Find that ship and destroy it completely. No debris, no survivors. Inside the radiation belt, the Vengeance continued its rapid healing. With Tom's guidance, the manufacturing systems worked at maximum capacity. Repair drones swarmed over damaged sections, replacing worn parts with new ones. In the command center, Jack reviewed the ship's capabilities with Victor. The AI displayed a complete status report. Shields now at 91%. Weapons at 85%. Engines at full capacity, Victor reported. Most importantly, the adaptive defense system is fully online. Explain that again, Jack said. How exactly does it work? The system analyzes incoming attacks and reconfigures our defenses in real time, Victor explained. Each hit we take makes us stronger against similar attacks. Additionally, our weapons systems can adapt to target enemy vulnerabilities. Lisa looked up from her console. Movement detected. The Krell fleet is repositioning. They're setting up a blockade around the radiation belt. They're preparing for our exit, Jack said. How many ships? All 6, Lisa replied. They've called in reinforcements too. 3 more cruisers just arrived. Jack's face hardened. 9 ships, including a command carrier. Those aren't great odds, even with our technology. They are also broadcasting a message, Victor added. To all nearby systems. Jack frowned. Play it. Admiral Dorax's voice filled the command center. Attention all vessels. A dangerous human terrorist ship has been cornered in the Outpost 37 system. As a precaution, the outlying human mining colony must be evacuated immediately. Any humans remaining after 6 hours will be considered part of the terrorist faction. He's going to punish the mining colony for helping us, Lisa said quietly. Tom shook his head. There are 5,000 people on that outpost. They'll never evacuate in time. Jack stood up, his mind racing. He's forcing our hand. We either stay hidden and let those people suffer, or we come out fighting. Even at near full capacity, we cannot defeat 9 Krell warships simultaneously, Victor cautioned. Then we don't fight them all at once, Jack said. He turned to the tactical display. Show me the Krell formation. The screen displayed the enemy ships, arranged in a half-circle around the edge of the radiation belt. They're expecting us to run, Jack observed. But what if we don't? What if we target just one ship, the command carrier? Admiral Dorax's ship. Lisa asked. It's the most heavily armed and shielded. Yes, but it's also the brain of their operation, Jack replied. Victor, can we send a targeted transmission to the other human colonies? Something the Krell can't block. The Vengeance has a quantum communication system designed to bypass standard jamming, Victor confirmed. What do you have in mind, Captain? Jack's eyes gleamed with determination. The truth. It's time everyone knew it. Admiral Dorax stood on the bridge of his command carrier, watching the radiation belt. His fleet was positioned perfectly. When the human ship emerged, it would face overwhelming firepower from all directions. Admiral, his communication officer called urgently. We're detecting unauthorized transmissions across all frequencies. Jam them. Dorax ordered. We can't. It's using some kind of technology we've never seen before. On screens across dozens of worlds, human colonies, alien outposts, even Krell military bases, a message began playing. It showed technical data about the Krell FTL drives, the fatal flaws in their design, and evidence of the Krell leadership's decision to attack Earth rather than acknowledge the problem. Most damning of all was historical footage from the Vengeance's databanks, showing the unprovoked first strike against Earth's cities. Shut it down. Dorax roared, but it was too late. At that moment, alarms blared across his ship. The Vengeance had emerged from the radiation belt, not running away, but charging directly at the command carrier. All ships, open fire. Dorax commanded. The Krell fleet unleashed a barrage of weapons. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human warship. But something impossible happened. The Vengeance's shields shimmered, adapting to each impact. What damage it did take seemed to heal almost instantly. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Jack gripped his chair as the ship shuddered under the assault. Adaptive defense at maximum, Victor reported. Learning and counteracting their weapon signatures. Target the command carrier's engines and weapons, Jack ordered. Disable, don't destroy. The ancient human warship fired. Its weapons struck with surgical precision, cutting through the Krell vessel's defenses as if they weren't there. Throughout the sector, ships of many species watched the broadcast and the battle. They saw the forgotten human ship, outnumbered 9-1, fighting not for destruction, but for truth. As the command carrier's main weapons went offline, Jack opened a channel. Admiral Dorax, this ends now. Your fleet has seen the truth. The other worlds have seen it too. The war began because your leaders chose pride over safety. But we're not seeking revenge. Jack looked at Victor, then at his friends, before continuing. The Vengeance carries the solution to the FTL flaw. We're offering it freely to all species, including the Krell. This ship was never just a weapon. It was humanity's gift to the future, a future we can all share. One by one, the Krell ships powered down their weapons. Even Dorax, faced with the undeniable truth and the superior technology of the ancient warship, realized the battle was lost. The forgotten ship had become the deadliest in the universe, not through destruction, but through the power of long-buried truth. Jack Harlow, captain of the UES Vengeance, looked out at the stars and smiled. His ancestor would be proud. The ship had fulfilled its true mission at last.